Well, yeah, we need that outside, perspective. That's one reason I like to act, because I like collaborating with people that are making the project and know what they want. And when they
Hmm.
bring me into it, they're bringing me in like so many times they haven't had to audition. They ask me to come in because they know what I bring to the party and they like that. So
Yes.
that's made it easy. But I'm hoping when I go out and actually audition for more things and some bigger projects, I'm hoping they see that value of what I bring to the party as well. And since I have all of this on set experience and everything now for 20 years, I know my way around. You know, I, I
Exactly.
know I know my type and I know what I bring to the party. So I think that's an advantage over somebody who's new coming in that doesn't know. And I have some experience, and I think that would allow me to kind of leverage some of that cult mojo into a, putting it in front of a larger audience too.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah,
Well,
it's kind of like what John Waters has done with a lot of his stuff. It's like I'm thrilled that he's blown up in the way he has, because he still wants to put the spotlight on some cult figures and things like that. And he still loves that kind of stuff. That's subversive and weird and underground. He still has that feel, even though he's got much bigger budgets and distribution and everything now.
right, and in his case, it's an attitude. Everyone, wants to be John Waters, but they miss out what makes John Waters John Waters, and
Yes.
it's because there's a certain intelligence about it. It's not because he's campy. It's because he
Right.
actually comments on culture.
It goes deeper. You're exactly right. It's like what you drill down into. It's and you touch on it so many times, even in the interview, is you're going into the culture, the underground cultures that I have moved through and that inspire what I do, like the goth industrial subculture and horror and everything else there, and even into the Halloween industry and everything. All of that's you put a stamp on what I do, and and the magic world too, which is the thing that I find least interesting about it, even though where I'm at in a lot of it with the show is the magic world has been probably the least influential of all the other things, because I think the other things make that way more interesting to me.
Do you remember back in the '70s the Bill Bixby show, The Magician?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That was my favorite show at that age.
I loved it. Yeah, it wasn't very long lasting, but man, I thought he was really good in that role too.
It was like, and then it was a syndicated show. I think he also hosted. It's like the World of Magic, something like that. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It was like a
Yeah.
half-hour show, and they would feature magicians from all over the world on stage.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I just thought that was I was just in heaven to think, wow, there's like two shows where you saw magic every week.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And that was kind of at the time, like right after that, it's like, just before David Copperfield broke, there was Doug Henning, that kind of hippie magician
Right?
out
Oh yeah,
there.
yeah. He
And
was
I
on
really
shows
liked
a
what
lot
he
back
did, because
then.
he was the first time I saw a magician. It's like, wow, you don't have to wear a tux and have this clean, friendly look. You can do something different. And I saw him with the long hair and the flamboyant clothes and everything, and you're just like, you can do more with this. And that was my first inkling that, because I mean, he was fantasy, but he was all like puppies and rainbows, and I was like vampires and gargoyles and stuff. So I was like, okay, let's just take that idea and go to the dark side with it.
Oh God, I haven't remembered Doug Henning in years. That's a
I
blast
know.
from the
And
past.
Doug's been gone for a while too. He passed in 2000. So he was
Oh,
just getting ready to kind of come back. He was starting to make like a little bit of a rumblings of a comeback through the magic industry, and then he was gone suddenly, which is sad. But man, when I was a kid, I loved his stuff.
didn't he have like the suspenders and
He did suspenders, lots of rainbows, and tight shirts and flared jeans and things like that. Yeah.
it's kind of like a leftover from Godspell.
Exactly. That's exactly what it looked like. Yes. You know,
Amazing. God.
big
I'll have to look
curly
him up on
blonde
YouTube
hair and
today.
mustache.
Do you think there's any old concerts or shows of his on YouTube?
Oh yes, you can find some old Doug Henning on YouTube. Some of his old. He had like a good half a dozen TV specials
Right.
until he got into when he transitioned into the 80s and the 80s culture took over. he had a very hard time trying to pivot with that, and it didn't work. And then he retired, and then David Copperfield just took over, and he was like all the magic specials from then on. He did like 20 in a row, and Doug did like maybe a half a dozen.
Well, don't
So
you
the
think
time, remember,
Mork and
it was
Mindy?
first have both of them, and then Doug was gone.
Who was it when Robin Williams on Mork and Mindy kind of stole Doug Henning's look?
He did a bit of that. Yes, he had the tight shirts and the suspenders and everything. It was the Work from Work was very Doug Henning and in a
Very
way.
Doug Henning. And, I was gonna say, Doug Henning was in a musical, I think on Broadway. Do you remember that?
It started in Canada. He got a grant from the Canadian government and did a show called The Magic Show. And then they took it to Broadway, and it was written by like Ivan Reitman was part of that too, from Ghostbusters and stuff. Ivan Reitman was part of that, and then
Wow.
and then that's what broke him. Then he got his first TV special where he did the Houdini water torture escape at the end of his first live TV special on NBC, and that's what started his career in television magic. So he kind of brought us the new version of TV magic specials, and then Copperfield came along a couple of years after that. But then Doug later returned to Broadway with another show called Merlin, which was more like the magic show on steroids. It was bigger and more, flashier, bigger budget. And I don't think that did very well. And I even have a poster for this. They actually cast and shot a version of the magic show for a movie. And I have the movie poster of that with Doug Henning in it. I don't know what that's worth now, but I think it's pretty cool to still have that. And I don't think I've ever seen the movie of it. I've seen a video of the stage show, but I've never seen the movie of the magic show. And they made a movie for it, apparently. I don't know if it didn't get released or what, but I was able to snag one of the posters at a poster show.
Oh my God.
Weird.
Well, I bet if I did a search, I could find footage of Doug Henning on the Mike Douglas show.
Yes, there you go. You can find it.
Or Merv Griffin, one of those.
Well, yeah, and there was somebody selling. My friend he bought like VHS copies that somebody had copied of a VHS copy of his old TV specials. So I have a bunch of his old TV specials that he then made for me. And I always thought it was weird that nobody ever did a documentary on Doug, because I always thought that would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
To kind of, because when he vanished from, when he couldn't pivot into the 80s culture because he was so entrenched in hippie culture kind of look, and it timed out, then he went into politics. He actually ran for office in the I think in Canada. He tried to do a political pivot there, which was weird for him. And he had studied with the Maharishi yogi, the same yogi that the Beatles studied with, and he was very into transcendental meditation. And that was something that he always put in his stage. When you went and bought the show bill for his, the show book for his live shows, there was always a whole page devoted to the Maharishi yogi and transcendental meditation, trying to clue people into it and what he got out of meditation. So it was weird that it was years and years and years later, but by the time I finally came around to meditating and things like that, and I'm like, what took me so long? It's like I knew that about Doug Henning when I was a kid, and it took me a long time to come back around in there to see the benefit. I guess I just learned more about it and then decided to dive in, and that was interesting. But I was saying, between all of that and then him starting to make a comeback into the magic world and then being gone, he died very quickly of like pancreatic cancer, and that was in 2000. And I always thought, it would be. And he was actually married. His first wife, Debbie, was Deborah DeAngelis. I think she was like a life coach, or very famous life coach or dating coach or something like that for a while. So she had a public persona after that. Or Barbara DeAngelis, and then Debbie was his second wife, Debbie Henning. And I always thought, I was like, wow, why did nobody ever go and write a book or do a documentary on Doug Henning? Because I think that's more than interesting to people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Who knows? It will probably be seeing that on Netflix in the next year.
I would love after Walter Mercado's. Did you watch the Walter Mercado one on the astrologer Walter Mercado? I thought that was fascinating because I didn't know much about him. I'd seen him on TV. I didn't know any of his story, so that
Right.
was cool to watch. Yeah.
Oh, look that one up. Well, documentaries are becoming even more popular.
They're hotter now than anything else. They say that because that's one of the things. If you've got all your footage and then you're doing voiceover and you have your interviews and stuff shot, that's one of the things they can actually get through post now without having to worry about a lot of actors and things. So they say that it's actually the documentaries that they think will float them until they have a lot of new narrative content ready for the platforms.